it was so much easier to get drawn into wanting to buy things, to be happy, to pursue success, not sex. Pursue success. Sex satisfies a little bit.
Does if you're married.
I think he heard that I'm leaving.
Oh,
do you...
Let's see some friends. Want to see friends?
Do you want to go to the park? Do you love me?
Yeah.
Yes.
He's gonna come with you now.
Okay, can I just be clear before you guys start this video? I want a dog. We're just not ready for a dog because they require so much TLC. Okay, all right. I'm gonna leave you all alone.
Okay. He's coming with you, babies. Well, hello, you guys. Welcome back to our channel. Oh, Cash. He's so cute.
I know, it's like you can't blame him when you see his face.
He's like, I just want the love. Oh, okay.
Okay.
First and foremost, we're doing a little girl chat Q&A today, and this is part 2. So if you missed part 1, it's over on Michelle's channel. If you don't know who Michelle is, she is a good friend of ours. She has a channel that is absolutely amazing. I was telling her, I always watch her videos when I'm like getting ready in the morning.
So sweet.
But anyway, so we did part 1. Go check that out if you haven't yet, and then come back and watch the rest of it in this video.
For sure.
You know
I'm so excited to be here. I can't believe that Tori's like sitting on my couch right now. She's in Dallas, and
I know.
we met so long ago that this is just so exciting to be filming a video together. So.
I feel like we will always send like audio messages constantly, and I feel like I've been in your apartment before because I watch all of your videos. And I walked in and I was like, just casual, and I'm just like, oh yeah, I've totally been here a million times.
Pumpkin spice.
Yeah, and I'm like, yeah, absolutely. But then I was like, oh, this is actually the first time I've ever been here. Very comfortable. It's so cozy, and y'all know that I love anything cozy. Let's just jump into these questions.
Yeah, we have a lot of really good ones. We split them up and we saved some good ones for this, so I'm excited.
Should we just start with a juicy one?
Why not?
The first one is, what do you bring to your wedding night?
I think it depends on you and like how you feel most comfortable. I don't know if it's your first time or not when you're actually getting to your wedding night. But for me, I think that some people like to wear something specifically. I think there are like toiletry. There are toiletry items you can bring. I know I watch a girl, her name's Mikkel, which I love her name. I think her name's so pretty. Yeah. But she always talks about, you know, you never think to like bring a candle or something like that. Yeah. Obviously some hotels probably don't allow that, but you can kind of sneak it in. I think that's a good thing to bring. I don't know if you brought anything specifically.
You know, it's funny. I don't think I did, but I wish I would have. I feel like you don't think about the fact that like you've been dancing on the dance floor. Like you feel kind of like, I want to take a shower. And so like Chad and I took a shower first because it was like, I just felt kind of gross.
We did that too.
I feel like I didn't even honestly have a chance to put on the stuff that I brought. It's just like, let's go. So I do feel like you definitely have fun with it, but just like roll with it. You know what I mean? Have a blast. Bring a candle if you want. Bring toiletries for sure to like freshen up so that you just like feel good. It's a night that you're excited about. So.
I think not having a ton of expectations either with like bringing all these things that you want to use. Sometimes I think that can make things more complicated.
Yeah, or like feel like pressure.
Yeah. But I think that the showering thing is a really good idea because I was so gross after ours too, where it was just not ideal at all.
How do you deal with self-confidence having acne when you're married? Because you have to like take your makeup off and it feels very vulnerable.
I remember when we first got married, and not that he hadn't seen me without makeup on before, but it was that thing where I'm like, wow, you're seeing all sides of me. And we were talking before this that we both were on Accutane, and I've definitely struggled with a lot of acne related issues. I mean, honestly, I really just learned that he's not thinking about those things as much as I am. Like the insecurities that I feel about myself, they really are. Because even like when I see other girls, I don't look at them and think, oh man, she's got like 3 pimples on her chin. Versus me, when I'm taking off my makeup, that's what I'm thinking about. So it kind of takes the stress off when you just realize people are probably thinking about themselves more than they're thinking about you. Yeah. And I don't know, I'm sure you feel this way with Chad, but I feel so safe in our relationship. Like, I can be fully myself. I can be fully vulnerable. Yeah, I feel like I like show them to him. I'm like, this one is killing me. You know, I'm like, I've popped it 3 times and it keeps coming back. And like we were going to bed one night. This was like a couple of days ago. It's funny you asked this, but he was like, you know, this is like my favorite version of you to see every day because it's just, it's you. Like it's just pure. And I think that if you're with someone who loves you for you, not that you have to love your acne either. I'm all about the body neutrality where you don't have to love everything, but you just kind of accept it. Yeah. And I do want to tell you guys that we still do, like truly, because we did Accutane and sometimes it works for like a season, but the acne does come back. And so like I've really struggled on a monthly basis. Right here is when I'll have like the cystic hormonal acne. And then I'm left with like the scarring, like the red spot will stay for a while. And I have been using my GENUCEL products and I feel like it's making the length of time that scarring, like normally it would last for like a week, but I feel like when I use those products, they go away in like 3 or 4 days. Use the eye cream too? The eye cream is my new go-to. Like I used it this morning. I have the immediate effects too. And you see a difference in 12 hours is what they say. And so I use it at night and in the morning right before I put my makeup on. And it's been really good because you guys have been following along with the home journey and everything else. And we just honestly haven't been getting much sleep lately. And Chad and I both have seen the effects of not sleeping enough, not focusing on our nutrition enough. And so having products that help like combat that is really helpful. And so our code is still active. I will link that in the description below. They also, I know it's an investment, like these products are more expensive, but they have a 60-day money back guarantee. So like you could try the entire bottle and if you really don't see a difference, which you're gonna see a difference. But if you don't, you can send it back for a full refund, which I feel like is a really like incredible deal that they do. They believe in it too. Yeah, the confidence to give that refund is crazy. So anyways, that's awesome. If you need new products, highly recommend checking that out. But back to what Michelle was saying, your acne doesn't define you. And I feel like I struggled with it and people don't like talk about it enough, how much it affects you mentally, like when your skin is breaking out and how painful it can be sometimes. Because you can't always cover it up too. That's the thing. Like the ones I have right now, I found myself this morning being like, geez, like these ones won't even cover up. Especially when they're like scabbing over and stuff too and you put makeup on, it just feels like crusty. The worst. But guys, if you're in a relationship, you don't have to be married, like you should feel confident and comfortable being that raw version of yourself, and that person that you're with like should be your safe place, and they should make you feel so beautiful without any of that. Like it was actually hard for me when Chad and I first started dating because I was on Accutane literally like your skin was probably so dry. The first month Chad and I were like officially dating was like the first month I started Accutane. Oh my goodness. And so it was just peeling and all of the things. It gets ugly before it gets pretty. Yeah, and it was hard on me emotionally. I'm like, man, I just don't feel pretty to go on this date and all of this stuff. And he, every time I take off my makeup, he's like, I prefer you this way. Aww. Which was hard for me because I'm like, I don't prefer me this way. You're like, are you lying? It's comforting to think you do. Yeah. But anyways, I just want to encourage you that you're beautiful with or without acne. It doesn't define your beauty at all. So next question. I feel like this is low-key controversial, kind of juicy, but also like I feel like this question gets asked almost every single time we do a Q&A. I feel like this is a great question for you because y'all got married young. It says dealing with criticism from others when getting married at a young age. Yeah, I think that's a great question. I mean, personally, I think I've touched on this on a few of my videos before, but I'm from Texas, so getting married at 22, which is how old I was, wasn't really abnormal, but my husband, Aiden, was from the Northeast, and I would say it's just not as common. I don't think it's abnormal, but not as many people are getting married I would say before 25 there. Yeah. And so I think when you are just so committed to one another and you believe in what you are making that covenant and you are just so sure of yourself. Yeah. And I think there's the quote that says you don't take criticism from people that you wouldn't take advice from. Yes. I don't know who said that, but it's just such a good quote. Yeah. I think being on YouTube, something that I've learned is that you get a lot of criticism from a lot of different people, and it's made me have a lot thicker skin. So I don't think I received that much judgment, but the judgment I did get, it just didn't bother me because I knew I was so in love with this person. I knew that it was a God-ordained marriage that we were entering into, and it just wasn't something where I was going to let random opinions of people. Yeah. I think Adam was so stoked to get married that he thought he was really like a winner for getting married at that age. 100%. And so he was so confident in it that it didn't really matter to him. I mean, people would make jokes like, when's the baby coming? Stuff like that. And you just don't let that stuff bother you when you're just so sure of what you're doing and you have good community who's actually backing you up and knows you know, that you guys are entering into something so special. And so 100%. I would say it's easy just to say not to let it bother you. I'm sure it does a little bit, but
I feel like that's like criticism in any area of life. You know what I mean? Like whether you're getting criticized for getting married too young or you're getting criticized because you're a little bit older and you're not married yet. Like it's so much of like an individual thing and like God ordained timing when you're supposed to get married and who you're supposed to get married to. And so I think if you feel peace with the Lord and you know, like without a shadow of a doubt, this is your person, it doesn't matter, you know, like, and that's why I love that quote so much. Oh yeah. Like it's so good to not take criticism from like someone that you wouldn't want to trade lives with.
You find the people that you know you can trust and you take their advice, not other people's.
Amen.
But easier said than done, for sure.
How do you overcome the social pressure to live out your youth in your 20s?
Yeah. I think that that's such a common thing, especially when you're getting married in your 20s. Like, don't you feel like you're going to miss out on life by getting married so young? But I don't know how you were in like your early 20s, but I've always kind of been a grandma. Like I'm not doing anything I wasn't doing anything in my life then that I wouldn't fully be confident doing married. And I think it's so special getting to especially travel together now that we're married and have those memories together while we're young. And that's not to say that it's better than getting married when you're 27, 28, whatever. It's just different. Yeah. And again, it goes back to the God's timing thing where I don't feel like I'm missing out on life and I don't need to mimic the way that the world's living when I'm living by my faith. And it's I truly feel like I'm living out my 20s right now in my life right now. I'm just perfectly content with the way that things are. And so I think it kind of goes back to the last one where you just don't take criticism from people that you wouldn't take advice from.
Yeah. We touched on this a little bit in part 1 of your video, but like feeling that pressure to do everything inside of your 20s, like your life is going to stop existing when you hit 30 is just so crazy because I genuinely feel at 28, like there is so much I am looking forward to. I think my 30s might be my most exciting season ever. Like, you know, when the Lord, in the name of Jesus, blesses us with little babies running around and stuff like that, I think that will be like one of the most fun seasons of our lives. Because I feel like in LA, it was the opposite of like...
Really?
Yeah, like I feel like Texas is like, okay, you need to get married, and then LA is like, oh my gosh, why would you ever get married? Just it's so different depending on like where you're at. I do just think that like the Lord has a specific purpose for your life and your timeline, and He is the author of time. And I think that sometimes our timeline and His timeline don't look the same. Like I've talked about that a lot in our like journey of trying to get pregnant. It's like, okay, my timeline looks very different than like what God's timeline is looking like right now, but that's okay because I trust His goodness and I trust His faithfulness. And so if I can remember that in every season, that He is so faithful and He is so good, and I know there's a reason behind like what I'm waiting for, that I can have contentment, like you said, in each season and not like just be wishing for the next one, you know?
Like for me, I never expected to be living in Texas where I am right now because I grew up here and I always thought, I'm gonna go experience the world, I'm gonna live in New York City, we're gonna get married and be there till we're 30, but the pandemic hit and things just changed. But the thing is, I wouldn't change anything. Looking back, I'm so thankful to be here. I mean, my siblings are all having children, and I'm so thankful to get to grow up with them and to be here. And again, going back to the contentment thing, it has really taught me so much about being content and not needing all of these material things. Not that I think if you live in New York City, you live a materialistic life. I just know for me, it was so much easier to get drawn into wanting to buy things, to be happy, to pursue success, not sex. Pursue success and fame and money, but those things don't actually satisfy.
Amen.
Sex satisfies a little bit.
It does if you're married. If you're married.
Why do those moments keep happening? Pursue sex.
Since we're on the topic of sex, how do you keep the spark alive with your man?
Well, you've been married a little bit longer than me, so maybe you have a bit more advice. Or just in your relationship in general, too.
Yeah.
I think having like that zest in your relationship and that desire for one another.
Yeah, I feel like it comes back down to like the day-to-day. And we've talked about, I feel like I did talk about this on the little wife talk video that we did, but I feel like those weekly check-ins that Chad and I have had are really important to be like, hey, last week I felt like disconnected from you. Like, I know we have a lot going on, but we need to be more intentional about pursuing each other. And we were talking about how, like I said in the other video, women are like ovens and guys are like microwaves. Like, Chad can get in the mood in 2 seconds. If I like look at him the wrong way, or I like do the dishes and Chad's like ready. And I want to be emotionally connected. Like, there's something, there's like an addition, I feel like, for women. And so I feel like communicating that with your spouse, whether you're a guy or a girl, like the communication is the key. And when you're like intentional about pursuing their heart, I feel like the physicality comes with that. Like, they're so tied together. I feel like when Chad like pursues me or is like extra loving, it just like that's what like sparks wanting to be more intimate with him.
Yeah, I think for us, something that's really important is just not feeling like roommates. I think it's really easy when you live together, and I imagine for you guys too, because you work together too, to get just caught in the same old, but really going out of your way to serve the other person, I think is so important. And even 100%. For us within our day, not that it's bad to eat dinner while watching TV or eat dinner while you're on your phone, but we've always made it a very intentional thing that, you know, we eat at the dinner table and we talk about our day and we pray at the dinner table, because those small things actually do matter. And that was something I grew up with my parents. Even though my dad would come home late sometimes, he would make an effort to be there at dinner, because that's our time as a family to really bond. And then when we have kids one day, I'm like, I really want to incorporate that into our routine because it's so important. And even beyond, you know, sex or anything like that, but I think just doing new things together. Someone had asked, I can't get my spouse to like try new things with me, but that's so fun when you go experience something new together, just you two for the first time. Like, something we've been doing recently is riding horses, which is so random.
I love
But it's so fun. Like, we'll randomly just go horseback riding once a month, and it's just nice. Like, there's no
texting Chad.
Y'all went in Hawaii, right?
Yes, I feel like, and we went in Utah, and I fell in love with riding horses.
It's just so fun.
We just need to find a place in Lakeland, because I do feel like it's therapeutic and it gets you outside, and it's just like something new.
I'm sure there's a place there too.
You know, my horse tried to run away with me. Really? In Hawaii. No joke. My horse decided.
Scarred by a horse?
No, I loved it. I mean, I was like, thought I was gonna die, but I was like holding on for dear life. But there's like a part where if you're like an intermediate rider, which I'm like not, but I said I was.
You signed up.
Yeah, definitely did. There's a part where they like trot, you know, and they can do that. But my horse decided when it saw the horse in front of him, oh, I want to race him. So then my horse just starts bolting. I didn't even have the rope, like how I should have the rope.
You're like taking selfies.
And I was just like watching the other horses go. And so I didn't have it tight or anything. And so I just went, ooh, and then it just like, it was jetting in between two different horses and then like ran me into a bush, but it's fine.
No way.
It's fine, we're fine. I still like want to ride horses, so I'm not scarred.
No, you should. I mean, conquer your fear after that. That's insane.
Yeah.
But yeah, doing new things, I think, is just, it really ignites that love that you had while you were dating, experiencing everything for the first time, and I think it kind of brings that back.
I love that. Okay, so the next question is something that I picked because I know both of us have struggled with. What does serving your husband and submitting to your husband practically look like?
I think this is a good question. This is one that I definitely get asked a lot. I think I touched on it a little bit in my wife talk, but I was talking about the principle of mutual submission. And this was something that my dad actually did our ceremony, which I loved. I really appreciated. But there's the principle in the Bible of, you know, your husband submitting to God. And if he's submitting to God, then it's okay for you to submit to him because you know that you are also following God. And that has always been kind of the framework for our relationship. And I always think, I don't know who said this, but there's the phrase that women want to be loved and then men want to be respected. And something that, there was another question that was, what's the best piece of advice that you've gotten for getting married? And something that, this wasn't a piece of advice, but I just always saw in my parents' relationship, they were always on the same page, never undermining each other. My mom respected my dad, and my dad respected my mom. And I don't know if this is a new thing, but people say, oh no, parents should fight in front of their kids so their kids can see healthy conflict. And I see that too. My mom necessarily always agreed with my dad. My dad always agreed with my mom, but I always saw them respecting each other. And I think especially within your relationship, and I'm sure you've experienced this, but you'll go out with people and they'll be bad-mouthing their spouses. And I just never want to be that way because it just is not respecting my husband. And I think it's hard when you want to find people to seek advice from when you're struggling with things, but you don't necessarily want to go gossip to your friends.
Totally.
Speaking of, I do know who that was.
Hey, babe.
Is that Chad?
Hola.
That's Chad.
Hey, babe.
Are you filming?
We're talking about submitting to husbands.
You entered into the juicy one.
I'm gonna go ahead and leave. I'm gonna go get milk.
It's like the most chaotic video.
I love it. No, are you kidding me? Have you seen our videos?
Okay, go for it.
Here.
Oh. And then it's all okay if they just buy you the golden retrievers.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
And I think it's just really is about having mutual respect for one another and trusting one another. And I think it's something that Tori and Chad always talk about on their channel is being fed individually. So then you can lead in the way that you're meant to within your relationship. And I think that that's so important when you don't trust that your spouse is having that time to be fluid on their own.
100%.
You know, it is going to be harder for them to lead. And so what would you say?
I agree. I'm really thinking about the fact that I don't even question submitting to Chad or like following his leadership because I know that he's so submitted to the Lord and it's an honor to like be able to follow his lead. I've never questioned his lead because I feel like it's a good thing for me. You know what I mean? Like it's a...
Because you trust him.
Yeah, I trust that like he wants what's best for me. Like he's not going to lead me in a way that's like not good for me or not good for our relationship.
And something that I like on your videos, I don't know if you talked about this recently, but you don't necessarily have to have one person doing all the housework, one person doing all the finances because it's the, you know, the quote right role to do.
Totally.
You do have, I think, certain gifts and talents as a person that God gives you. Whereas Aiden is so good at Excel, so good at budgeting, and so he does a lot of our finances because that's what works.
Totally.
Versus me, I just happen to love putting together our home. I love taking care of it. I find a lot of joy in that.
Totally.
And it's also a big part of what I share online.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes people think, oh, are you being forced to do that? Are you only doing that? I think it is a way to serve him because he lives in a place that he feels like he can call home.
Totally.
But if your husband is the one who prefers to be cooking, I don't know how this got off of the submitting, but I think
it's
that
like
you do a good job of, you know, trusting that you guys have different gifts and talents.
This sounds bad, but like if you see a hole, fill it, you know, like it's that mentality of like, hey, if I happen to be working on the computer, but the dishes aren't done and you don't have anything on your plate at the moment, like, can you do the dishes right now? And Chad doesn't mind doing that. And like, he loves cooking. You guys know Chef Chad. So like, if he cooks, then I need to, you know, do the dishes after that. We got off the topic of submission, but at the same point, I do think that it kind of plays into that whole like dynamic of like, what are the roles? And I think it's so different for each individual couple. Like you might work different jobs. One person's home or one person's not or whatever. It's just literally communication. Like you just can't expect your husband to come home and do the dishes if you don't like say, hey, I actually would love help with this particular chore. You know, like communicate, put into place like what we've been doing a Sunday meeting or a weekly meeting where you're like, hey, I could use help with this week, so that you're not like having underlying resentment or bitterness and expecting something that like they don't even know you're expecting. Yeah. And I think that's all I got. Yeah. All right, you guys. I think that is all for today. Don't forget to go subscribe to Michelle's channel. You will absolutely love it. She's such a blessing. And thanks for sharing. I think it's so nice to have like new voices on the channel.
Oh yeah. And we were just talking about how we both don't really do
a lot of
collabs all the time. So it's so surreal to be bringing someone on my channel, you bringing me on. It's really special. Yeah, it means a lot. So
and we're also bringing Michelle on the podcast. So make sure that you're listening to the Messy Masterpiece podcast, and Chad and I are going to be on her podcast. Yeah.
And I'm going to be asking some questions that you probably haven't seen on their videos. So definitely check it out.
Oh, we're excited. Buckle up, you guys. We love you, and we'll be seeing you in the next video.
Bye, guys.
Bye. I feel like I need to do Chad's. Do 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 do.